intellectual experience. It is a physical experience, and every work of art is a record of somebody's physical experience. It can be very refined, it can be very subtle, it can be all sorts of things, but nevertheless it is a physical experience. And since it's your physical experience, it has your rhythm, and this is very important that you become aware of it, because I don't think anything that's alive doesn't have a rhythm of its own. This is one of the reasons it is so difficult in a way to teach any kind of art, is that it's almost impossible not to superimpose your rhythm on somebody else, because you reach your own experience of the people's rhythm. So the more you get into it, the more you tend to do it, the more you're probably going to superimpose somebody else's rhythm on. I know a couple of draftsmen, who were really great teachers, but they really were so strong, and you had to do it so much that way that you had a terrible time overcoming it, to let go of that, the way they taught you to do. They're kind of looking in rhythm to get into your own. It's one of the great things I liked about Rico LeBrun was that he absolutely refused to do anything physical in class. He would only talk philosophically about art. He had a number of apprentices. He had, I remember down at the Jackson Art Institute, there were about 2 rooms and about 100 students, 90-some students. And he had 3 or 4 assistants who would go around. He insisted in sitting there. I'm using pen and ink because he felt that was the one way that you would get your order. You were forced into order, and then to be loose as you could with the pen is sort of his idea. It's a good experience. But and I often feel that when I see something I like, and I come back and I think, gee, I hope I didn't influence that too much, because I find myself enjoying making some marks, never with anything but my thumb, usually on the paper. But I know that I am, to a certain degree, I'm trying to get you to feel and loosen up, and I really don't want you to force my way. The other problem with teaching is that this is not sort of a class where you're painting from your imagination. It's not a class where you're particularly trying to use your intuitions. You're supposed to let them come forth. We are concerned with out here because we do have an object out here. And it has specific known qualities, and I want you to experience them. I want you to become aware of them, and I want you to grow. I want this sort of intuitive self of you to come out here and experience this true inner realities of this object out here, and in so doing, increase yourself. But it means that I'm constantly maybe stopping you being physical, or stopping you in something and looking more carefully. So there's always these things that are going on. There's this early thing where you're getting into your body. There's a time where you really have to look more carefully. And it's just amazing how many of us don't really see what's out there. Mainly because at this very early age, we not only have established our primary functions, but we pretty well have established what things look like. So that we sort of just glance at them, oh, this, oh, that, or that. We don't really look at them. So this strong sort of early knowledge and unconscious means that we have probably a picture of almost everything we've ever seen unconsciously within us. On top of that, you have your own, in this figure class, you have your own body, which you know better than anybody in the world. And you see it on everything. To a certain degree, you're always to a certain degree drawing yourself. One of the reasons you're doing that is because you're aware that you're part of the universal, every person, and therefore this drawing the figure is a very important thing, and I'm exposing myself, which I think helps increase this tendency to do your own life. Now that you'll always do that. Don't worry about it. But if you find that somebody has very small hands and you have large hands and you're constantly putting large hands on little-handed people, be aware of it. Or if you have long legs and you put short legs for long legs and short-legged people, be aware of it. There's a tendency to do that kind of thing. And we've been signed up.
We have, no, she came in and left.
She did.
Elizabeth, if you wanted to do your talk.
Here she is.
We were talking about it.
Oh, good. Everything
Timing.
nice. Everything nice.
Yes. We instinctively know we're doing a figure of sort of a sacred object. And I think that's one of the reasons that figure drawing is sort of scary, but also important. But the problem is, I don't know if you know Jung's, as he calls, he felt that we had a personal unconscious. And then we had the universal unconscious. And the problem is that we tend to go right through our personal, family, racial unconscious right into the universal unconscious. And the universal unconscious, as I said, is symbolic, it's symmetrical, and it's holy. So that there is a incredible magnet. You take the head, which is also the most holy part of the holy figure, put it right in the center of the paper, right about up at the top, right about wherever it is, and then draw this symmetrical holy figure. So if an arm's going out that way, we don't want it to go out that way. We want it to make it straight. We want to make it symmetrical. We want to make it out of the living, moving world. Because that which is alive is constantly moving. That's the definition of life, is motion. As they warm them up sometimes and they start to move, they become a living form in their life. So life is essentially motion. So that there is a strong urge to draw this very important holy figure. So that we look up there, we want to start with the head. We want to unconsciously take the life out of it and begin to draw something that is sort of universal in here. But it is not. We forego our personal unconscious.